What is up, guys? My name is Nader, and welcome back to the channel. This is my Star Wars The Last Jedi rewrite video. This is part of a competition that me, Nindroid, and Sauerkraus are doing. I put their links in the description below, so that way, if you guys want to go check out their rewrite videos or their channels, please go and do that. Also, please go and check out my channel. I am at 61 subscribers. I am trying to reach my goal of 70 subscribers. So if you guys would like to, please go and subscribe. Now, with that being said, this is my rewrite video. Again, like I said beforehand. Now, the thing that I want to tell you guys is that this is not going to be an edited video. This is more so just going to be me talking over some slides. So it's not terrific. So with that being said, let's get it right into the rewrite. So with Star Wars The Last Jedi, this movie is a very mixed bag when it comes to the fandom. You either like this movie and say it's the best one ever, or you're one of those people that say that it's the worst Star Wars movie ever. To me, it's right in the middle, meaning like I don't hate the movie. I think the movie has really good things in it, but as far as a execution and story wise, I feel like it's very, very misdone. Meaning like it's a very, very not that great. So that's why I'm doing this rewrite video to kind of give more what I would do. Now, there are two things that I'm going to be doing with this rewrite video, and that is I am going to try and tie into the Rise of Skywalker like it should, and I also want to make it so where it feels it's going to be the same format of the film, of the normal film. So if it feels similar, again, just warning you now. And if yeah, that's all I got to say about that. So let's get right into it. Now, of course, the film starts off with a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and then you get Star Wars, and then you get the crawl because that's what a Star Wars movie should have, at least for the beginning. Now, instead of doing the action scene at the beginning, we start off at Op 2. Now, again, where we left off in The Force Awakens is that Rey was handing Luke his lightsaber. And the way the movie starts off is kind of following up on that, where Luke is holding the lightsaber. And you can have Luke have a throwaway joke here where he says, "Did a hand come with this?" Because again, he lost his hand in The Empire Strikes Back. To me, I would that it's pretty funny. To me, I think that's a little bit better than him throwing the lightsaber behind him, because to me, I found that to be very disrespectful. Because unfortunately, it's like it's Anakin's lightsaber. That's his father's lightsaber. He wouldn't do that. And the thing that I would change about that is that instead of Luke throwing it, he just gives it back to Rey and says, "I can't do this anymore. This is in the right hands because I'm done. I don't want to be a Jedi anymore. I'm not Luke Skywalker, the hero. I'm just Luke Skywalker, the nobody." And Luke goes back to his hut and he invites Rey in. Now, you can have Luke and Rey have a conversation here, because obviously they're going to talk about Han. Rey's going to tell Luke that Han died because of Kylo Ren. And Luke, again, feels like he failed again. And that's one of the big plot lines of his in the films, that he feels like a huge failure for what happened, to everybody he knows. Trust me, we'll get into that. Also, Chewbacca's there as well, because again, it's Chewbacca. He was there at the end of Force Awakens with Rey. Now, I'd keep all that stuff in. Rey is like, "Listen, I have these powers," and Luke's like, "Powers?" She's like, "I was able to control a stormtrooper. I was able to trick him with my mind." And Luke's like, "You mean a Jedi mind trick?" She's like, "Yeah." And then Luke realizes like she's already this powerful. He has to train her, or else she could fall right into the hands of the dark side very easily. And Luke's like, "You know what? I'm going to train you because even though I'm not doing this anymore, I want to help you because you can give out what I can't, and that's hope." And that's where it would cut. And then after this, we again cut to the action sequence, where the First Order took on the Resistance. Obviously, Poe is leading the charge here. Poe is just more like, I'm Poe Dameron. I have a cool leather jacket. I'm going to stop you guys because I'm Poe. I like jackets. And obviously, he's more like, I'm going to stop you guys because you guys are bad and I'm good. And General Hux is just standing there like, really? He's like, you know who I stopped last night? Your mom. And he's just like taunting Poe throughout the entire thing. And Poe obviously gets pissed because again, he's kind of like a hothead, kinda, where he's like, you know what? I'm gonna kill these sons of bitches. So he goes after the First Order very recklessly, which causes a lot of his team to be killed or injured. General Leia's like, all right, we need to fall back. They fall back. Leia gets very, very upset because, again, I would be upset if my fleet was almost killed. And Leia says, listen, I'm demoting you, but I'm doing it to teach a lesson because when uh, Poe asks why, Leia says, listen, you are hot headed and that you need to learn control because you cannot lead because all you're going to do is you're going to endanger everybody that's around you. Now, around this time, Finn wakes up. Finn's like, where am I? Where's Rey? And then Leia says, take it easy. Rey is with Luke. And Finn's like, I got to get to her. Poe, because he's besties with Finn, he's like, listen, no, the Resistance needs you more than ever. And Leia's like, yeah, we do. And Finn's like, no, she's more important. And then she's like, more people are going to die if you don't help us. And Finn's like, okay, I'll help after it takes some convincing. Now, I would keep the Kylo Ren stuff in here because the Kylo Ren stuff in this film was done very beautifully. And I actually like all the Snoke stuff as well. Basically, with the scene, it's basically more like Snoke's like, listen, motherfucker, you failed, you loser, because you lost to somebody who has never held a lightsaber before and has no real fighting experience, has no experience with the Force. You fucking suck. You pathetic piece of garbage. And Kyle's like, listen, in my defense, I got shot. And then Snoke's like, no excuses, you piece of crap. And then, of course, he shocks him because why not? And Snoke says, listen, you need to do something to prove that you are strong, or else you're a liability and that I am going to kill you. And Snoke says, you know, if your grandfather was alive right now, he would take his lightsaber and he would stab himself so he could roll over in his grave. And of course, you know, Kylo is trying to get out of his shadow. So Kylo Ren destroys his mask and says, prepare my ship, because we all know what's going to happen. And oh boy, we'll get to that. So while all this is going on, you know, after because like I said, a couple weeks have gone by since then, and Rey's like, listen, or like Luke is saying, look, here's how you're going to train. I'm going to teach you how to maneuver a lightsaber. I'm going to teach you how to use the Force. I'm going to teach you to control. He's basically teaching her control. And the way that I would have this done is have Luke train her the way Yoda trained him by having him just doing all these exercises. Like she's doing jumps. She's doing like all this like parkour stuff. She's, doing the lightsaber thing at the rock. At first, she destroys the rock. She cuts it in half and she's failing at every turn, but that's okay because that's a learning curve that every character has to go through, that a character has to fail before they succeed. And while this is going on, like you could even make this like a little bit of a montage where Luke is training her and Rey is just like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then Rey obviously gets better. And then finally she doesn't cut the rock. And now Luke is like, okay, she's more ready now than ever. Now, obviously, Finn and Poe, besties, are going on a mission together, but Leia does not trust Poe still. So she enlists Rose Tico to go and help Poe and Finn. And so we later learn that they need to go and get resources for the Resistance because they're starting to run low. That like they still have enough, but they want to get more resources so that way the First Order doesn't, kill them when they do run out. And so like they need more like blasters, they need more like gas, they need more everything. So they let them take a ship and they go to Kijimi. That's where Leia wants them to go. And Poe, well, actually, it's more like Poe goes there because Leia's like, look, I don't care where you go, just as long as you get the resources that we need. And that is where they go to. Now, after this, Kylo Ren is in his ship, and of course, he's going to go attack his mother because he wants to prove that he's stronger than any Skywalker. He wants to prove that he's better than Vader because Vader couldn't do what he was about to do. And Leia, she's force sensitive. She senses this, and she's like, everybody, we got to get out of here. And of course, everything just blows up in their face. All like the ships, blow up the ship. And I would still kill Akbar here because I think with Akbar, you have to have that shock death, and I feel like this is the way to do it. And also, I would not have Leia go out into space. Now, the way I would do this is instead of her going out into space, she gets hit by debris or she gets hit by a little bit of an explosion. So she's, knocked forward and she gets hurt. She's obviously in a coma because the force is healing her. Because again, force healing, that's going to come back later, I promise. And they need to get a new acting general. And they find out that it was supposed to be Poe, but he's on a mission. Also, he's got demoted. So they've enlisted Holdo. And the thing with Holdo is that Holdo was basically Leia's friend in the Senate, and that she has no experience in leading anything. So she's obviously learning throughout the movie. She's making a lot of bad decisions because, again, she has no idea what to do. So one of the things I would change here is that obviously Rey and Luke are still training. Rey, she senses darkness in the cave and she's like, what's in there? And then Luke's like, that is a cave where the darkness roams. And she's like, what's inside? He's like, I don't know. But I suggest you go in there with caution if that's what you're going to do. So Rey, obviously being Rey, she's like, yeah, I want to go in there because the voices are calling out to me. And she goes in the cave, and obviously all the cave stuff happens. And then it's revealed that her parents are nobodies, and she is crushed. But then the room turns red, and that is where you hear all these things. Like you hear Darth Maul's voice, you hear Dooku's voice, you hear Vader's mechanical breathing, and then you hear Palpatine's laughter. So you know she is related to a Sith, but in terms of who, we still don't know yet. That is something that, again, is going to be resolved in The Rise of Skywalker, because I feel like with this movie, this should be more of the setup movie for The Rise of Skywalker. So obviously, we know that she's related to someone strong in the dark side, but we just don't know yet. Trust me, guys, it'll be solved. So, bestie best friends, Finn and Poe and Rose, they're on the ship. They're going to Kijimi. Obviously, they're all, they're all pretty good friends here. And we learn a little bit more about Rose and Poe than we get in The Force Awakens. We learn that Rose had a sister and that, Rose's sister helped raise her when her parents died, and that she went into the resistance because she felt like that was the right thing to do. Obviously, Rose, she was like a janitor for the resistance, and that her sister died as like a pilot because she was a lead pilot. And Rose is like, that's why I became a pilot as well, because I want to avenge my sister's death and that I want to die. And she said that she would die for the cause because that's what her sister believed in, and that if she was put in that same situation, Rose would do that. Foreshadowing, everybody. Also, we learned that Poe was a smuggler. I know, shocking, right? It turns out the reason why they wanted to go back to Kijimi was because Poe knew his way around. And that's why he was like, all right, we need to go to Kijimi because I know some people. And it's revealed that the reason why he went to resistance instead of still being a smuggler was because he saw what the resistance was doing, and or he saw what the First Order was doing, and he felt like, and he knew like he was not. He knew he wasn't a smuggler at heart. He knew like he wanted to do something better with his life, and that's why he became a resistance pilot. And he, in this, he kind of expresses regret here for what happened, and of course, what happens later on. They go to Kijimi and they meet up with Zori, and we find out that she and Poe had a history. They dated each other for a while, and then Poe left her without really saying, "Hey, how do you do?" And so when they get there, Zori's like, "What are you doing here? I thought you left." And Poe's like, "I did. I came back because I need your help." Zori's like, "Why should I trust you?" And have Rose kind of give like a speech of how, we're just trying to do the right thing and that we need resources and we'll pay you for your trouble. Zori's like, "Okay, but be on the lookout. There's some First Order lookouts here." So obviously there's there is going to be like a bunch of stormtroopers here. There's some generals, and then obviously they're gonna have some act. They're gonna catch them, and then there's gonna be some action here. And the way that I would basically Zori captures every basically captures Finn, Poe, and Rose here. So when this happens, they all get captured and they get taken, and it's revealed that General Hux was, or I'm sorry, not General Hux, Captain Phasma was leading the charge in Kijimi. So, and then she's like, "Well, well, well, look who it is, the traitor FN 2187." And then obviously it freezes on Finn's face, looking shocked. And then throughout the movie, Kylo Ren is manipulating Rey because, again, all the Kylo Ren stuff is staying. And he's basically saying how Luke tried to kill him in his sleep. Rey's like, "I don't believe you." And then Kylo's like, "No." And then he shows her like the memory of what happened. And then Rey's just looking absolutely disgusted that Luke would lie to her and not tell her this. And then when she goes to confront Luke, Luke tells her something, like she basically tells her what happened. Basically, what happened was Luke actually had a family. He had a wife and a daughter. And obviously, he had the Jedi Temple. He was training Jedi. And then he took Ben as his apprentice. Now, when this happened, Snoke was trying to manipulate Ben, and of course, it ends up succeeding. Kylo feels like Luke is trying to hold him back, and it was actually during a mission when Luke and Ben were on a mission to find a wayfinder because Luke had a theory that Palpatine was still alive, and Snoke's like saying, "Do it," and Ben feels like, and he tells Luke that you were just holding me back this whole time, and that you never cared about me, and you were using me. And Luke's like, "No, that's not true." And then he abandons Luke there on the planet that they were on. And when Luke finally gets there, he finds the Jedi Temple in flames and his wife and daughter dead. And Luke's like, that's when he gave up. And Rey's like, they're so good at him because I can feel this conflict. And Luke's like, no, there's no conflict. And Rey's like, no, I'm gonna go to him. And then Luke's like, well, if you go, don't come back because there's only one way that's gonna end. If you go there, and that you're gonna be manipulated into the dark side. And so she ends up leaving. She actually steals some Jedi text. And as Luke was about to go into the cave, he hears three voices. And when he looks behind him, he sees the ghosts of Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Anakin. And basically, the ghosts are telling him, look, we all experience failure. Like, because with Anakin, he knows what he's going through. He lost his daughter, and he lost his children and wife, technically. And that's why he became Darth Vader. And Yoda was, felt like he failed the entire Jedi Order because of Order 66, because he couldn't sense what was happening. And Obi-Wan failed with Anakin. So they all experienced failure. And they said, however, we never gave up, and you shouldn't either. And Luke's like, I can't let this pain go. And then that's when Anakin tells him, let the past die. Like, these three have like just they have that basic monologue, but you also have those added lines of how they talk about how their failures shape them and that they don't want that for Luke. And with their combined power, they set it the tree to flame with all the other Jedi text in there. And Luke's just standing there contemplating that. And then he looked back and the ghosts are gone. Now, obviously, they escape. Finn and Phasma fight. Poe goes to find Zori and try to talk some sense into her. Maybe you can have BB-8 show up and have him like roll onto someone's foot. Also, BB-8 is with them. I apologize for not bringing him up. It's just, again, there's not a lot for him to do. So BB-8 maybe could roll on someone's foot for comedic relief. And obviously Rose is just like shooting things because sure, why not? And, Poe and Zori have a talk, and finally Poe is like, look, Zori, can you please help us? Like, I know why you did it, because you were trying to save yourself. I get it. Just, can you please help us? And then finally she relents and says, okay. She gives him the blast. She gives him a ship. And then, at this point, I would not kill Phasma. Again, she's going to have a part to play in the Rise of Skywalker. So Finn beats Phasma, but instead decides to spare her. And then once they get onto the ship and they fly away, they get a transmission from General Leia saying to go to Crate. Now, I'm going to explain about that in a minute. So obviously, while this is happening, Rey is got captured by Kylo Ren, who was expecting her, and then he takes her to Snoke, and Snoke basically says, good job for not being a fucking idiot. And Snoke's like, you did well. And then he finally sees Rey, and he's like, well, look at you. And he's like, you're probably wondering who I am. And he's like, I came from something unnatural. And you are special. And he's like, I look forward to continuing your training. And Rey's like, no, I don't want to. And he's like, I know what your heritage is, and I'm not going to train, and I will not tell you what your heritage is unless you train with me. And she's like, well, who is it? And while Snoke is having that monologue, obviously he grabs the lightsaber, or he basically I guess he takes the lightsaber away from Rey, and then the lightsaber ignites and then stabs him right in the gut, killing him. And so after this, I would still keep the throne room scene because that was great. And obviously, there's that scene where or Kylo and Rey are like are going to. Like, Rey is trying to tell him, please come back to the light with me, because I know that's not who you are. And Kylo's like, no. And of course, Kylo's like, look, this is my, that lightsaber is not yours. That's mine. That's my family's legacy. So then they fight over the lightsaber. The lightsaber is not being destroyed here because, again, it's in the Rise of Skywalker. Also, that has something to do with the Rise of Skywalker as well. So some fighting ensues, and Rey gets away with the lightsaber. She steals Kylo Ren's TIE fighter. And I like villains who think. So Kylo Ren knew and he let her escape, but he actually put a tracking device in his TIE fighter. And because now he controls the First Order, he's now like, okay, I'm going to take charge, and he knows where she's going, and that he's going to end the resistance once and for all. And obviously she goes to Crate. Now, obviously, while this is going on, this is why they're going to Crate, is that, again, Holdo doesn't really know what she's doing, and she's trying to learn how to lead the resistance. Now, while this is happening, the First Order closes in on them, and they say, we're going to take them out once and for all. Holdo, finally, throughout the movie, she's learning, and then finally, she's like, okay, what do we do? And then she's like, do we have any detonators on board? They're like, yeah, so what do you want us to do with them? She's like, we're going to blow up the ship. And he's like, we're going to blow up that ship with detonators. And they're like, well, how are we going to do that? She's like, we're going to put the detonators all throughout the ship. And then once we go into light speed, I'm going to detonate the ship and it's going to explode. Now at this point, General Leia wakes up and she's like, "That is the most reckless thing I've ever heard someone ever plan to do." And Holdo's like, "Listen, you have to trust me. This is going to work." And when someone says, "Are you sure we should do this?" And then Leia says, "Just trust her. She knows what she's doing." And then Holdo says, "You got to get out of here." And then obviously Leia knows where to go in case if something like this happens. So when the detonator's on board, Holdo has to stay on the ship so she can detonate the bombs at the right time. They go into light speed, and then that's when the Holdo maneuver happens. I feel like that would make a little bit more sense than just them going to light speed and just cutting through. Then we finally get to the battle crate. Now everybody is finally there for the final battle. I would basically keep the battle the same, except for one small thing, and that is Rose dies. Because again, Rose didn't really do that much in The Rise of Skywalker, so I would personally just kill her off here by just doing what she did in The Rise of The Last Jedi, and tell Finn like, "Hey, look, thank you for being my friend." And also, she also throughout the film, we all know that Finn has uh emotions for Rey and that he loves her and that she's like, "Do not let your fear, cloud what you really want." And then that's when she dies. Then Luke, finally, like the Luke stuff here, I would keep is that have Luke and Leia just have that emotional like, hey, Luke says, "Hey, I'm sorry for leaving you and I'm sorry for failing your son." She's like, "No, that was not your fault." And Luke gives Rey one final assignment, and that is to help, you know, lead the way to for them to escape because he knows he's got to fight Kylo. So then, that whole scene happens, and then finally we see Luke, and not with not with the blue lightsaber, because again, Kylo would know that's a trick. He would show up with this green lightsaber. And finally, it's the fight that we've all been waiting for: Kylo Ren versus Luke Skywalker. And the fight ensues. I would actually have a throwback to Revenge of the Sith here with Kylo saying, Luke saying, "I failed you. I'm sorry." And Kylo's like, all you wanted to do was use me for my power because you knew I was stronger than you." And Luke's like, "That's not true." And of course, the fighting ensues. And as Kylo was about to stab Luke, it's later revealed that Luke was using a force projection. And Luke says, "I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of killing me because I know that there is good in you, and I don't want you to taint that good with whatever bad is poisoning you." And he says, "See you around, kid." And then that is when Luke dies. To me, I feel like his redemption here is a little bit more earned than the Last Jedi movie that we got. And then as after that, Kylo feels this weird dark pull to the Force, and then he then realizes where it is, and he goes to. Then he flies away in his TIE fighter like he got beforehand, that he got back from Rey because Rey left it there to help with the resistance. Now, and then finally, we finally get that emotional, like, we're just Finn and Rey finally reunited, and again, like all the pain they went through, they have each other, and that, again, that's going to kind of be included with the Rise of Skywalker. But they're finally reunited, and so now they're on the ship because again they escaped. Finn and Poe are talking to one another. Poe's like, "So you got feelings for the girl?" And he's like, "Yeah, I do." And he's like, "Well, why don't you tell her?" And then Finn's like, "Because she's not gonna love someone like me, just a guy, a stormtrooper who's not a Jedi." And then Poe's like, "Look, you just gotta take a chance. That's all any of us can do." And Rey and Leia are talking, and Rey's like, "So," like they're talking about Luke, and they're talking about how like he redeemed himself in the end, and how Luke is, finally one with the Force, and that he's gonna be stronger than anybody else. And they're talking about how Rey's gonna be trained a little bit more now with the texts. And then Rey's like, "So what? Why did Kylo leave? Why didn't he go after us?" And then Leia's like, because again, she's also force sensitive. She also feels that dark pull, and then she's like, "Oh my god," because she knows that force, like she knows what kind of feeling that is, and she knows who that like related to, and she's like, oh my god. And then we then cut to Mustafar, and of course, this is actually I'm actually gonna take this from Deathly Hallows. Is that the ending of part one is actually going to be the beginning of part two, where Kylo Ren is on Mustafar. He slaughters everybody, and then he finds a wayfinder. And with that wayfinder, he goes to Exegol. And then the last scene of the movie is Kylo Ren going into the lab, and and then someone says, "I've been expecting you," and then the ending shot of the movie is this. So now, with the rise of Skywalker, Palpatine is officially here. And what's going to happen next? Well, guess you guys are just going to have to wait and find out. Thank you guys so much for watching this rewrite video. It's definitely not the greatest. I did stumble a lot. Again, this is more of like, it's very just, but hey, it's done. So, I'm never gonna do a rewrite video again. So this is my one and only one. If you guys liked it, yeah, shoot the like button and hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. This is the Osinator signing out.